everybody. Sorry. It's Safi and Marco, Dish Out on the Movies. And today we are doing episode 2 of the new Tony Hillerman and Hillerman series, Dark Winds. Or is it Dark Wind? I don't even know the correct name. And I apologize for that. I got up at 2:30 in the morning, and so I'm a little bit draggy right now, even though I had a nap. But anyway, this episode is episode 2, like I said, and it is called The Male Rain Approaches. Now, male like M-A-L-E, and then rain approaches. Because in Navajo culture,
male rain is thunderstorms, and female rain is gentle, light rain.
Yes, and I know Marco about had an hysterical fit, but this is a cultural thing.
No, I was just making fun of it because the first episode was called Monster Slayer. We had no idea why it was called Monster Slayer.
No.
And then this episode, it's The Male Rain Approaches, and it's just these funny titles that we can't really explain.
Well,
and
this one is more explicable because at least it talks about rain.
I was able to look it up, and I was like, oh, okay, that's fun.
But the Monster Slayer
still don't know.
Is, unless they're talking about Joey porn.
Yeah,
which doesn't.
Really?
Which I can't even see either Hillerman explaining that one, but they have not. She didn't. He's dead, but Ann Hillerman, his daughter, did not say anything bad. So, like I think we told you last week, she was interviewed and she got to see the first 3 episodes before they aired, and
she didn't say anything about Monster Slayer, but anyway, Safi.
She was happy about it.
This is episode 2.
Yeah.
Now, talk about, what did you think about episode 2?
Okay, well, I enjoyed it a lot more than the first episode. I'm still disconcerted by a few things. And I realized from reading the mysteries that something weird will happen at the very beginning. Somebody will get killed, somebody dies, somebody gets kidnapped, or just disappears. They don't know if they're kidnapped. And then you don't know what has happened until practically the very end. And all kinds of weird things happen, and different little plots here and there. And but I'm telling you, one thing I'm really mystified by, and that is the thing with Jim Chi being an FBI agent, and then also informing on and going behind Joe Leaphorn's back.
Yeah.
That is something that I just don't understand.
It's bizarre because you told me like he's another main character in all these books.
They are, both of them, and now since he in the book series, in the last one, near the last one, by Tony Hillerman, he was shot almost to the point of dying. So at that point, then he kind of retires because he does live, but he's older and he's been, he had a terrible gunshot wound, and it's Jim Chi and Bernie Manuelito. I think they get married, and they kind of take over the station, and so. He does move slow, and he is older.
Well, Safi, you never even looked up.
But it's not. I know. I have to look.
You never even looked up where Jim Chi came from because.
But I always.
It's bizarre.
Well, to me, in my memory, and I could be faulty because it's just the way it is. But I don't remember him ever being from anywhere else. The thing is about all these people in the book. Even TV show, they're all related, and you're like, oh my God. Well, they have clans, and they're different groups of families, and somehow they're all interrelated from a long, long, long time ago.
Is that like a twist in the series?
I don't know how I don't think they could explain it, because it's hard for me to explain. It's an anthropological thing about relationships, and I didn't get into that.
So you're telling me that all these people are having incestual relationships?
They're all kind of related from way back in the very beginning, and they talk about that, but they don't say that. But the thing with the male reign and the female reign, that's part of their culture, but it's just this. Of course, now you've seen a lot of tortured things already. A girl gets murdered, her father goes after, in the last night's show, her father goes after Joe Leaphorn, which is totally bizarre. That just freaked me out in and of itself, because people don't usually do that with him. I know we did get almost fatally shot, but this thing where you have a personal attack where you're trying to hit somebody, or I don't know what he was going to do. He was actually, what did he do? Didn't he have a shovel or something in his hand?
Yeah, he's going to attack him
with the shovel, so I guess, that would have been pretty bad.
He was going to wake him up. Where you hit someone in the head with the shovel, and then they go, ooh! And it's like, oh, look, he woke up. Like, in the cartoons where they, get hit and they turn into, a plank or something. Well, but anyways, that story with Jim Chi, Safi's evading Jim Chi, his situation.
Don't know. I'm going to have to look up the first book.
This has to be a back and forth about these points, Safi, because they're points that are worth discussing. They're not points that are worth just throwing out.
The other thing that's mystifying is he wants to leave.
Yeah, well, okay, let's talk about Jim Chi. As I said before, when you have black movies, you always have the black character who went to college and he got educated and he got lots of money, and then he comes back to the poorer area and then he criticizes everyone, and there's a big cultural difference. And you have the same thing here. It's a very tired, cliched story about this Jim Chi, and he left and he went to college and he's a city boy, and he's also FBI, and he doesn't like the stupid old man Joe Leaphorn or the stupid Native American culture. He doesn't like any of it.
Even though he's Native American.
Yeah, it's that typical story where somebody moves away and then comes back and hates everything around them, and then by the end they end up falling in love with it again. And so that's what's going to happen. It's so predictable. It's really bad. I mean, it's like, okay, we know at the end of the season there's going to be some conflict, and he's going to have to choose, and he'll choose Joe Leaphorn and the good people, and then the FBI guy will shake his fist and go, meh, and that's his story. That's his arc for season 1, and we've already figured out his arc after, 2 episodes? So that's not that good, Safi. What's up with that? Is that in the book?
No, I don't think so.
Well, why would they do that? That's so stupid. That's just lazy, Safi.
I actually thought it was Bernie in the book series that.
Really?
But she didn't have that. What did he say about Joe Leaphorn to the FBI agent?
She said, this old man can't get his hairy eye off of me.
Yeah, I thought, my God, how disrespectful. That kind of thing never happened in the book.
But you're saying...
Never!
You're saying it did with Bernie.
Well, Bernie, I think she's the one that goes to college.
Does she be
and
FBI?
Comes back.
Is she
no.
FBI?
No.
Oh.
And there's nothing. That's why that part is just I guess we shouldn't go on about that's just
It's
like
stupid.
mysteries we have to solve.
It
I guess
sticks out like a sore thumb.
I'm
It's ridiculous.
I'm gonna have to go back to the first book and check. I just seems like I would remember that, but I don't remember him being so disrespectful or being an F. And if let's say he did go to college and he hasn't been back, I just don't. Just to even say that, it just seems like foreign to me.
And remember, in the first episode, he doesn't listen to Native American music. He listens to the white man's music when he's driving into town. Remember?
Yeah, that I've heard that kind of thing before.
They're like, he's been changed. You know, it's that type of typical cliche, tired, done and done again story that.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot. That's happened in the book.
It happens
not
in
with
real
him.
life.
Not with him, but
It's just a stupid story because you're taking this character who could be. I mean, he's a really good actor, and he does a really good job, and he seems like he could be a really cool character, and you're like degrading him and taking away his character and like deconstructing his character and like trying to. It's like what they did with Superman, where that piece of shit Zack Snyder took Superman and he's like, you know how we make Superman interesting? He kills people and he wonders, ooh, should I help people or should I just kill people? That's the most interesting thing that you could do as Superman. You know, that's what he did. And it's the exact same type of thing where they took that character and it feels like he's just not the character from the stories because they wanted to do this stupid mainstream cliche story to appeal to people like us, Safi.
well, they do have people throughout the books that aren't main characters that like pop up and they're not there for long, and they're usually young and they're kids and they're in high school or something, and they have that kind of thing. I just listen to white man's music. And you know, they don't care about the ceremonies and all this stuff, and they just want to get away. But these main characters, that's just not. I just don't remember that happening.
Well, Safi,
Even Bernie is not as bad as that.
It doesn't appeal to me. It doesn't appeal to me.
No, it doesn't appeal to me either.
It just pisses me off.
Yeah. So, well, the story, we should stick with the story, I guess.
We did.
We're still, there's a big explosion at the beginning and some mystery around that. I won't say anything else because it's really hard to say anything else because we didn't get to find out much about it. And so we can't even really speak even if we wanted to, a lot about because we don't know.
It's probably going to be something that connects to the main mystery by the end. It's just another unexplained event that we don't know anything about, and it's just something in the background.
I think the one thing that was really interesting and significant and horrifying, really horrifying, was the fact that this Mormon family was vacationing, and you know, they're from Utah. Utah is not that far away, not compared to like Ohio or Missouri or other familiar places to us. And they've stopped there and they got some tourist art. Tourist art meaning art that's done by Native Americans or people in the area. And it's not the real expensive kind. It's just kind of like to remember where you were. It's called tourist art. And it was like this picture of a flower, I think, wasn't it?
It was a cactus.
Cactus. It was just one thing, though. It was just one plant.
It's just one cactus.
And it was in color. It was like an oil painting or something like that. It wasn't a very big painting. It wasn't small. It was kind of in between. They had it in the trunk of their car, and they're driving along, and this is the way it is. You go down these roads, and there'll be nobody for miles. And so they're the only car on the road, and there's two girls and some parents, and they're singing, and they're just, you know, keeping themselves busy on their way home to Utah.
I think that was meant to be comedic, the way that they're kind of like
Yeah,
cartoony.
yeah.
And
I guess
that was
so.
pretty goofy. That was pretty funny. And then all of a sudden, there's this huge car that comes behind them, and he rams into them, and he's like just tailgating them like all the people do around here, all the on a daily basis, basically.
Yeah, especially lately.
And then the car drives around them and passes them, and then later on they catch up with him, and he is pointing a gun at them, and he forces them to open up the trunk, and he gets the art, and then I guess he kidnaps them.
And nobody knows, and the Manuelito comes upon the car, and there's nobody in it, and Joe Leaphorn, she asks for backup, and he comes, and there's no keys or anything, but he knows how to hotwire the car.
It was a very good scene.
It was scary.
It was kind of like Jeepers Creepers, which is a really good horror movie. It was very reminiscent of that. And I think it was the same guy who was hiding in that house, wasn't he?
I'm not sure.
Because he had the headband, the red
He was
headband,
Native
and the
American.
hair. I think it was that same guy. Because remember, he was pointing the gun in case one of them opened up that other door.
Yeah.
So
Twice.
I guess he's one of the main bad guys, or he's a bad guy. And
He's
that,
also a wife beater.
that was my favorite part of the episode, because I just thought it was a well executed scene, and it was simple, and you could understand everything that happened. And that type of stuff happens all the time in those types of areas. Like, all sorts of people go missing, and then there'll just be like a car left behind, and you don't know what happened to them. And so that was a pretty cool sequence.
Yeah, it was just a little bit horrifying, though, because you wonder if that guy murdered them and then disposed of their bodies.
And then he made a belt out of their nipples.
I don't know about that. I don't think he'd give a crap about doing anything like that.
Well, that's what Ed Gein did. He made a belt out of nipples.
He just wouldn't want to waste his. I don't think that guy was like that. Well, but the reason why they took the painting is because he's in some kind of operation.
It had money in it.
It had money hidden. You know how there's these older paintings, there's like a paper backing. And this even happens today, where I just found this out. I was watching a reseller video, and they talked about how you go to thrift shopping and you find one of these old paintings, you see that paper. Some people actually rip into the paper to see if there's something hidden in there, because there have been people who found hidden things in the wrapping and on the back of a painting, which I hate to say. I don't want anybody to do that, because I would just say, the chances of that are happening, or I wouldn't count on it. But this was a deliberate smuggling or kind of like stealing operation, where they get these paintings and they hide their money. And I mean, it was very well put in there. It was all nicely in all these
One question
stacks.
is, how could they not tell that the painting was heavier than the other ones?
I don't know.
Because you think about all that cash, there was like 10 wads.
Yeah,
of
heavy.
cash.
They weren't little like ones.
That's-
I mean, it
that's-
was wads.
They have weight, Safi.
Yeah,
There's
I know.
weight to them. And
Well,
so you
even the
think
seller selling the painting would see that,
That, yeah.
or feel that. I know. Don't ask me.
Well, it's not a bad thing. It's just a question of curiosity.
Yeah.
And then what else happened in the episode? Well,
Well, the girl who they've spent the last
the
two
pregnant
episodes.
girl.
She's a very young girl. She's pregnant, and she's showing. So she's at least 5 months, and her husband beats her up. And we think this is the husband, the guy who ran the Mormon family off the road, same guy. I didn't put the two together, but Marco did, and I think he's bright. And she finally is, I think she's staying with the Leaphorn family, because Mrs. Leaphorn was saying, is that okay if I use this room? And so I think she's staying with them. So anyway, she's finally left her abusive husband. And because Joe Leaphorn made this last visit there's a couple of other visits, but she didn't budge. But he finally convinced her to come and get just to seek refuge.
What do you think about this stuff, Safi? I mean, who cares about what happened? What do you think?
They have all this personal stuff in the books.
So you like it? You think it's good? You think
well,
it's
they
interesting?
can't. What are they going to do? Just talk about the case, and that's the only thing they're going. That's why everybody likes the book so much. And I know you can't really apply everything the same to a video. It's just different. I know that. But it's because you see a whole world that you're not used to seeing and being around.
It's different?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's life.
It's interesting because...
Life on the reservation.
Yep, Joe Leaphorn.
On the res.
Talk about now. Let's talk about Joe Leaphorn. Safi.
I don't know what to say.
Should I say Joe Snoozehorn? Because I said in the first episode he was very low energy, and the other two main characters, stood out more than him, especially Emanuelito! Especially her. She stood out the most, which I think is a modern thing because they probably want her to take over
but she
as
does
soon
in
as
the
possible.
book. They are younger.
Yeah, but if they were making a proper Tony Hillerman series, they wouldn't have her take over until like a season 8 or something.
She's not taking over. She's still put in the back seat.
Yeah, but they're having her be more prominent so that they can probably bring her in faster.
Well, the thing about that is Ann Hillerman, when she took over her father's book series, she took over Bernie's character.
Well, that's fine. She can do that in season 8, not season 2 or something. Like, that's what it feels like, though, because... No, season 2. Because the way that as I was saying, Joe is like he's like a wallpaper. He's like wallpaper. And she's like a lamp. And then Jim Chung-Chi, FBI boy, who with his cliche-ass storyline, he's like an ashtray or something. Because, the FBI just puts out all their cigarettes in him, and he just doesn't care, I guess.
I don't know.
Because he's going to have his little arc where he's like, oh, actually, maybe I should be with the good guys. Wow, that really took a lot to think about.
But the thing in the book is, he was wanting to be a medicine man.
Not in this show.
And he had family there because in order to do these ceremonies that they talked about one of them in the first episode. You have to have a certain person leading it. They make the sand art. You've seen these sand paintings, and when they're done with the ceremony, they have to mess them up.
Safi, why don't you hire someone from the reservation to do a ceremony?
No, Marco.
So
anyway,
that we can get 100,000 subscribers.
So
what do you think of that?
No, Marco. So anyway, so you have to, that's what confuses me about this FBI thing, and he can't learn or like be an apprentice to somebody who's an actual medicine person if he's not living there, and he's living in Washington. He's in the FBI.
Well, let's talk about...
That's why I'm confused.
I was trying to talk about Joe Snoozehorn.
Okay, well...
So, as I was saying, he's not prominent at all. His character is very bland and sleepy. And he acts like he's going to fall asleep. He acts like a zombie. And you have all these detective shows. Any detective show, Safi. Twin Peaks, for example. Does Cooper act like he's going to fall asleep at the drop of a hat?
No.
No. Dirty Harry, does he act like he was going to fall asleep? No. But he sleeps quite a bit with people in the series, but he says he's not going to fall asleep. So, it is critical that when you have a show or a movie of any kind, that the main character isn't like this.
Yeah, but
because he
you're
is so
comparing two
sleepy.
different cultures.
It doesn't matter.
I don't think I don't. Well, you're.
What
just
about
talking
Hawk in Twin Peaks? What about Hawk? What about Deputy Hawk? One of the coolest characters of the whole series. What about him?
I don't know, Marco. He's not Navajo. He's a different name.
Oh, well, what about the same actor in Fargo season 2?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
But don't ask me.
this character, he acts like a zombie, and his character is not really cool. I mean, he just doesn't ever do anything cool. He's just this sleepy, quiet person who lumbers around in his car, and he's like, okay, let's go question someone. Are you gonna do your job? Are you gonna? Okay, well, what happened at the murder? And it's like, wake up! Drink some coffee! Do something! Do some jumping jacks! Jeez!
They do drink a lot of coffee in the book.
Well, he acts like he never had coffee before.
Well, they drink a lot of coffee because they may not have anything else.
The Mormon family, who doesn't even drink coffee, they acted more awake than he did. And Safi was saying some BS excuse about how in the book, Joe Leaphorn is very quiet and introspective. Right, Safi?
Yeah.
Well, guess what, Safi? It's a show. And it's fine for him to be like that in the books, because in the books, you can hear his inner thoughts, since, it's a book.
Mm-hmm.
But since it's a show, this is a show, you can't hear his inner thoughts. So it's kind of hard to know at any point in the show, anything about him. He's just this boring character. And he should be a cool character, like his deputies.
Well, that was an interesting thing, too, because one thing that was found out, remember at the very beginning of the series, they had this helicopter and it did this robbery, and it went flying off into the reservation and disappeared. Well, what happened was it crashed into this big body of water. And last week, at the very end of the show, they were out by this lake. He was there. I think it was Leaphorn, standing by this body of water. And you could see down below, Marco even talked about the photography that they used to do the shot. You could see the helicopter in the water, in the depths of the water. And so it crashed somehow, purposefully or not. I don't know. And what happened to the pilots? Well, I was thinking that one person they kept showing at the pregnant girl's house with the shotgun, that's one of the pilots, or he was a passenger on it, and he had survived, and he was hiding there, putting these people hostage. I don't know. I still don't know if he's connected with that or not. But anyway, it kind of makes sense, though, if they stole money and they put money in the back of this painting. Is that where the money comes from? I don't know.
Safi, it connects. It all connects. That's the whole point, is that you have all these events, you get no explanation, you just get implication, and then by the end of the series, it'll all connect magically.
But Joe Leaphorn was standing by that body of water, and usually in the book, he would go down and maybe put his fingers in the water and smell the water or something. He'd know that it was there. Well, he doesn't know.
He puts the water in a jar, and then
Yeah.
and then there is another good part where he figures out that Jim Chi is an FBI boy.
Yes, he knew it all along, actually.
And he hands him the jar and says, either you do what I say, or I'm going to tell.
He's going to tell the FBI agent, the main one who's been a thorn in the side from the beginning, that he knows that Jim is an FBI agent. Another person...
and Jim has to get the water tested.
Right. And Jim finds out, and it's announced like almost at the end of the show, that there's some kind of content in the water that suggests there's fuel in there from the helicopter. And so Jim found that out, not Detective Leaphorn. So that was kind of surprising to me. Yeah. I don't know what else to say about that, but anyway.
Well, just say what you thought about the effing episode, Safi. I mean, just stop explaining.
I liked the episode, and I liked it better than last week's.
Okay.
Because I just thought it was more settled in and cohesive.
It was more cohesive and settled in.
There's still some disturbing things, like the thing with Jim Chi. The two things. Number one, he's an FBI agent, and not just for like 6 months. It sounded like for 5 years. Two, that he despises the place, and what he said about Jim, or Joe Leaphorn, shocked me, about the hairy eye thing Marco talked about. So that was two things that really, and then the thing with the Mormon family, I thought was scary and shocking. So, but there were a lot of things that went on in the episode. There were little things, and like it's almost like Marco's saying, well, what are they doing there unless they have some bearing on the story?
It was entertaining. It just is still, it has the same problems as the first episode, where you have all these things that happen and they don't really connect that much, and it's kind of like waiting around for like them to connect. But it's helped by all the actors are really good, and it's still entertaining to watch. It's not like a boring show to watch. And then the biggest problem is Joe Leaphorn, because he's low energy.
He's very even. He never shows, and he doesn't in the book. Doesn't show very much emotion at all.
I don't care. He needs some sort of cool moment sometime, like, Dirty Harry. Remember, he eats a hot dog and then he kills all these bank robbers and, screws them up, and, he does some cool things. And that's why people like him. And so if they just give Joe Leaphorn a cool scene or two, then people would like him. But he doesn't have anything. He just lumbers around quietly talking to people. There's one scene where he shoots that guy running at him, and it's kind of weird. I mean, it's kind of like it comes out of nowhere, and Safi.
Well, Marco talks about him not showing much emotion, and he's too quiet. And in that scene, he gets visibly upset and is shocked that he even did that. Shocked that he shot this guy, but the guy was going after a police officer. As sheriff, in my estimation, that's illegal. So he had every right to shoot at him.
Well, I will say it's probably bad to shoot him in the leg, because shooting people in the leg is a lot riskier than shooting them in the shoulder, which is, that's usually what they do in these cop shows and things, is they'll shoot people in the shoulder.
Well, I think that's because of their training, that they tell them where they should try to shoot, so they're disabling them. They don't want to kill them.
Well, the ones nowadays like to kill people, but especially children, like in the elementary school, where they just let people get killed for 2 hours or whatever.
Only there, but not in Dayton. Anyway.
What would you rate the episode, Safi?
I give it a B+.
I give it a B+ as well, although it still needs to fix those couple of issues. So
I can't wait to find out how Jim Chee's attitude's going to change, because if they're going to do any more of these, his attitude's got to change.
Yeah, wouldn't it be funny if he gets Emmanuel Leto killed?
It isn't going to happen.
That's the type of thing these people would do.
She's the main character.
They would do that though. They would do that though. I feel like these people, like they just have no respect for that character of Jim Chi. They're treating him like a nothing character. Like, you should be a little upset, Safi, because you've read all the books.
Well.
And upset about Joe as well, because you were upset about him in the first episode, and now all of a sudden you're like, whatever.
Well, the problem for both of us too with that character, it's not the character, it's the actor, because I've seen him in we've seen him in Fargo, season 2. Is that what you said? And he had a lot of life to him. And he's actually going after people and showing a lot of emotion. And then the other thing was that Longmire movie. He was in Longmire, and so he played. I've seen him a lot. So it's like we've seen him so much doing these other roles. It's weird for me to see him do Joe Lee porn.
So we both give this episode a B+,
yes.
Even though, despite the mistakes.
Whatever they are, I don't
Anyways, Safi. Anyways.
If you like this video,
please like it.
Please press the like button.
Comment.
And give a comment.
Do a ceremony so we can get more subscribers.
And then come and be our subscriber. We welcome new subscribers.
Yeah.
And we welcome your comments. And have you seen the series? Or have you read any of Tony Hillerman's books? And like I said, don't read that Fly on the Wall book. It has nothing to do with the Southwest or Native Americans. Usually it's the Navajos, because the Navajo reservation where they're sheriffing, but they talk about the Hopis and the ones who do the Pueblo groups, and so.
Okay.
Okay. Goodbye.
Goodbye.